Okay, we're at phase 6 now. This is the exit. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean to say you're going to get out. It does mean that you've got to have an option for your cornerstone investor who came back into your project early to cash out. It could be that he buys the rights for one state or a city or something, and he then takes a holiday from it. He retains his shares and expects no more return on his investment until the project's listed, if it's going to be an IPO or it's going to be trade sale into a public company. But that he has to have an exit, and ideally you should have an exit too. At the modelling stage, we actually plan the exit. So we work out just what the best model is for the exit, and we do that with that 4x4 sheet that I talked about. If you have a problem, always pays to run over it with a 4x4. We get this 16 box matrix which we run over your project and make sure that everything fits. So we've planned the exit way back then. We're now implementing what we've done. So, and it could be that you exit at scale, it could be that you exit at transition. It all depends on how efficient you are at what you do and how confident you are that you can add value, or how ambitious you are to stay on board without doing much to watch your investment grow and letting it go. So some people will take a minor income and come into the company and still only work 2 days a week and work on their other projects, and so they keep a cycle of cash flow going and they still have an asset there. So that always is a good option for people who want to take that. But so what I want to look at is, how do we exit? What are the options? Well, one of them is you can grow your project out. So it means you open another factory next week and do the same thing in another part of town, and you go to another city, and then you go to another state, and then another country, or whatever you're going to do. However you're going to grow the project out. That is the long haul. It takes a long time to grow it. You're paying for it out of cash flow. It means that you won't see any positive cash flow, extra cash flow for yourself for 10 or 12 years. Don't count on taking family holidays, because you've got to be there as you have the growing pains for each new store as you open them, or a new venue or new production scale as you go. So I don't recommend that at all. So there's that. There's an IPO, which is an initial public offering for a public listed company going onto a stock exchange. You might want to be able to do that. That's quite a good option, but you have to have, it's got to be 20 to $50 million turnover and good profits before you can even consider that. And nobody really likes to do it with one product. So what we tend to do is, before we list a project, we look to aggregate. So we go and find other IP that's similar. Some of it might be a little bit earlier stage, so you can pick it up for a little bit less, because you can now afford to pay for that and incorporate these into your project. So you've got good cash flow, you've got promising options for your cash flow to accelerate, and you've also got new projects being nurtured at different stages of the ideation and commercialization stage, so you're ready to go with more cash flow. And that gives people the promise. They don't go into your project because they like it, they go into it because they're going to make money, and they want to see that you've got extra opportunities to make money later on, or otherwise they'll just buy your stock and then dump it the next week or whatever, whenever opportunities come to take a short profit. So the focus there, if you do your IPO, is you're going to have to partner up with someone. They're going to have to pay for the listing fees. It can be up to $1 million. Usually it's about a third to $500,000, and that's why you have to have the cash flow. And it can cost $250,000 a year to stay listed on a stock exchange with all the compliance work that's needed. And don't expect that you have to learn this compliance work, but you will have to have professional directors, even to get the credibility to get investors. You've got to start off with 500 investors, so you really have to have a good spread. Okay, so that's one option. Obviously we talked about grow it out, which is a hard one. Then you've got licensing. Everybody knows about licensing. Yes, okay, we can take this to a hardware store and ask them would they take it on, and will they pay me, and shelf space and everything else. But you're a single product company, so you have to go really through a representative who can go in there with 50 products, and hopefully they'll push yours at the same time they're pushing all the others. So you have to make sure that they're skilled up on yours so they can go and do some deals for you. Now they'll only charge you for what deals they do. They may charge you a little bit to get you going, so they can understand your product and do the paperwork, sell sheets, etc. But once they've got a deal, then they're going to make money on you for a long time, and that's fine. It's worth doing it, because you probably don't have the skills to get yourself into a hardware group or a chain of stores if you've got a product that's going to be sold in stores. even in vehicles or whatever. It's too difficult for somebody who's technical or scientific to come in and do that. So don't expect that you're going to have to learn that. It will be too hard for you. Okay, so you've got that. You can also go now to, after licensing, you've got my favourite, which is trade sale. So what we look for is, we look for a large company in the industry, probably a 10 times the size of the cornerstone investor, who have a national or global presence. And you say, okay, if they're public, I'll swap my shares, we'll all swap our shares in this project for a large number of small shares in their project. So then instead of them paying $1 million, they just pay, give me $1,001 shares, and I can distribute that to everybody. And we usually keep royalties on top of that for 5 years or 10 years, or the life of the patent in some cases. And we also have a flip clause in there. So if they decide to sell the project later on and it's over the price they paid, you get 5% of what's over the price they paid. So, and that makes sure that they don't just take it and flip it, because if they do that, they can flip it to somebody who'll pay for it, but not necessarily do any good with it. So you don't want that risk. You want to, and also you don't put everything into your stock price. It's the component of what you purchased or what you sold it for, because if it's all stock, if their stock tanks, so do you. So that's not something you want to do. And you don't, unless your project's doing extremely well, you can't really expect to get a seat on the board, certainly not straight away. So just understand softly, you know what you want. Work out whether or not you can afford to ask for it. And then there are soft entries, there are hard entries, but essentially you don't necessarily need cash. Don't expect that cash is the best, because cash you're going to pay tax on anyway, capital gain on, if you have capital gains in your country. But if you just take a script for script rollover, you only pay tax when you dispose of some of those shares, and the difference for each of those shares will be in value. So at that point there, you're going to be paying the difference in value, paying capital gain on that. So it could be put it into your super fund and wait 10 years or whatever, and that's fine too. So, but you talk to your accountant or solicitor about that. We don't give any advice on that. We've seen the way people have done it, and it's been quite nice. Okay, so there's lots of exit options. The big ones: grow it out, IPO, trade sale, and license. I tend to like trade sale because it's a lot cleaner and it's a lot more controllable. And I find that once somebody's done a trade sale, they'll go back and they'll do another trade sale because it's so quick. So the first 3 stages can take, usually if it's an unskilled person, it can take them 3 years. With a skilled person following our technique, particularly in our 100 days challenge, they can do it all in 5 months. Our 100 days challenge is getting funding within 100 days. So that gives you an idea how confident we are that you can get funding if you ask the right people, present the right pitch, and you do it right. So, and we don't bore them for any more than 20 minutes, 12 points in 20 minutes. That's all we do. So if you want to learn that, go to 100dayschallenge.com. Otherwise, you can get this video, you can look at all the others in this series back on our website, which is 100dayschallenge.com, or you can also go to LinkedIn, and go to our special interest group called Kickstarting Inventions, which is Kick-Starting Inventions. You can go in there, become a member. It's free. 1,200 other inventors in there just learning all what they want to do and sharing information with each other and solving problems. And you can get in there and you can go backwards to all of the free videos and look through them, how to raise capital, how to do this, how to do that. If you have a problem, you can ask for it, and chances are we'll be able to post up a video about that. Okay, thank you very much. That's this week's.